Now, I can understand where people say Anthony Edwards could be one of the best players in the league. With the athleticism, the downhill ability, and the pull-up shooting that he just added to his game recently, there is a true pathway to where Anthony Edwards can be a top 10 player in this league. And last season really changed the narrative around Anthony Edwards. The Minnesota Timberwolves go to the Western Conference Finals. They upset the defending champion Denver Nuggets. Anthony Edwards has a crazy playoff run, and now the expectations are different. The pressure on his shoulders is much bigger, and after trading Karl Anthony Towns over the offseason, Anthony Edwards would have to carry a much higher offensive load. And after that Western Conference Final Series, where we saw a lot of deficiencies in Anthony Edwards' offensive game, we came into the offseason knowing that a lot of improvements in Anthony Edwards' game was going to have to be made if the Minnesota Timberwolves would want to take that next jump, which is winning an NBA championship. So what happens? What improvements did Anthony Edwards make to become a better player? Well, first thing I want to say is he comes into the season averaging about 40% from three a game on about 10 attempts a night. Anthony Edwards over an offseason became one of the best shooters in the NBA out of the pick and roll and attacking drop coverage. And especially with the deficiencies that the Minnesota Timberwolves have as an offensive unit, especially after trading Karl Anthony Towns, this pull-up shooting could be very, very, very useful for a team that barely has a three-point shooting type of team. So now you have an extremely athletic guard who can get to the rim at will, finish through contact, get to the free throw line, and now can knock down a three-point shot better than league average and at one of the best clips in the entire NBA. But there's still something to Anthony Edwards' game that I just feel as though he needs to get better at before I can legitimately say that he can take a team to that next level. And this is something that we see stars have to get better at all the time. This is something Jason Tatum had to improve in so the Boston Celtics can get to the NBA Finals and win. Because the Boston Celtics don't go out and get Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis if Jason Tatum does not become the playmaker that he was supposed to. And I truly believe Anthony Edwards needs to become an average to above average playmaker and decision maker for the Minnesota Timberwolves to reach that next level. Anthony Edwards has everything in his repertoire to become one of the best offensive players in the NBA. And if you add playmaking to that, dangerous downhill ability and lethal pull-up shooting ability, he's going to be undoubtedly one of the best offensive players in the NBA. But I can truly argue that this offensive situation around Anthony Edwards does not help his playmaking whatsoever. Teams are allowed to play gap defense against the Minnesota Timberwolves because Jaden McDaniels is not a threat from three. Julius Randle is not a threat from three. Rudy Gobert is not an offensive threat at all, and Mike Conley is very inconsistent with his jump shot. So today in At the Buzzer Sports, we're going to be comparing, is this Minnesota's offense on the back of Anthony Edwards' decision making, or is it because of the offensive situation around him?
This second nature, putting belt to the paper. These lines gon' shake pavement like Lucas trade to the Lakers. A fine bitch taker, we riding waves in Jamaica. I put my chin to the sky and give thanks that I'm not a hater. Wood grain taking steer in my life. Robbers raised the kids, so you won't catch me with fear in the eye. Thank God, another celebration. Put beer in the sky. Clean glasses every other night, cause I'm me and that's tight.
First off, I would like to start with some stats. Anthony Edwards, with everybody that has about 5 isolation possessions a game, has the lowest points per possession and the highest turnover frequency. I think a lot of that has to do with the offensive situation, not having the spacing, not having the motion off ball that you would like as a lead primary ball handler, and just not being the decision maker that you are or supposed to be as a number one. But if we look at a stat that factors in his pull-up shooting in a pick and roll setting, with every guard that averages at least 9 possessions in the pick and roll, Anthony Edwards is 4th in points per possession. Also having higher point per possession numbers than guys like Donovan Mitchell, LaMelo Ball, Luka Doncic, Cade Cunningham, and Trae Young. If we take a look at Anthony Edwards being used more off ball, he takes a lot of rim protection out of the paint by being such a dangerous three-point shooter and driver. So you do have to help up on him as a shooter, but you're also scared of the blow-by, leading to a lot of teams committing to him. Now let's take a look at this play involving 2 bigs and Anthony Edwards. So I can't help but notice that AirPods is the only one protecting the rim as we speak. And with Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid about to set the screen for Anthony Edwards for him to get open on the perimeter, it causes Draymond Green and Trace Jackson Davis to try and step up on the perimeter and stop the pull-up three or stop the drive to the rim. So it would be very interesting to hear why Dante DiVincenzo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker aren't cutting to the basket or just attacking this one-on-one matchup and making life a lot easier for Anthony Edwards. Like, if we look at the perimeter and how many players on the Golden State Warriors that are occupied in this action, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 Golden State Warriors are occupied in this action for Anthony Edwards. Why is there not someone cutting to the rim? Now, luckily, the improvements Anthony Edwards made to his pull-up shooting allows him to make this shot pretty comfortably. And let's not forget, even with the shooting improvements that Anthony Edwards has made, this is still not the most dangerous part of Anthony Edwards' game. It's his driving. There is a reason why Derek Lively is all the way back at the three-point line, because he is the last line of rim protection in this action to try and stop Anthony Edwards' full motion downhill to the rim. So therefore, he's willing to concede the pull-up three, and that's why Anthony Edwards' improvement here is so drastic. But now Anthony Edwards has learned how to make defenses pay off of the three-point shot. And I think his ball handling is one of the most underrated parts of his game. Just being able to dissect the help and be able to split the defense this well and get ahead of full of steam downhill and finish around the rim, that's extremely underrated to me. And I think this is a perfect example of why teams don't attack him and they just play drop in these pick and roll situations, because he splits this so perfectly and he splits it again, getting an easy look at the rim. But as much as I love to talk about Anthony Edwards' strengths and why he's going to be one of the best players in the NBA, if he is not already, which I think he is, there is a massive problem with his playmaking and decision making, and this could cause the Timberwolves to lose a lot of games in playoff scenarios and in clutch game scenarios. In clutch games, through 33 games, Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves are 14-19. He drops down to a 55% true shooting with a -12 net rating. And I think in these type of scenarios where teams are going to blitz Anthony Edwards a lot more, he holds on to the ball a little bit long, causing a lot of turnovers. He doesn't make the decisions fast enough. He does not process the game fast enough. He takes a lot of bad shots when 2 to 3 defenders are covering him in these late game scenarios. And it just makes the offense hit a really hard rock bottom when he makes decisions like this. And I truly believe playmaking and scoring is on the same string. I think your playmaking opens up a lot for your scoring, and your scoring opens up a lot for your playmaking. So if Anthony Edwards could become an above average decision maker, he'd be one of the best offensive players in the NBA, because you have a guy that can get downhill at will and now has become one of the best shooters in the NBA. If you tell me that there is a second guess of double teaming Anthony Edwards because he's going to make the right play 9 times out of 10, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Like, I truly believe this loss against the Rockets the other night is on him. You're down 3 with 7 minutes to go, and you shoot a contested 3 with 3 defenders on you. Now, we all know what happens when you swing the ball and you get the defense in rotation. You get easier looks. One pass could have gotten this Houston Rockets team in rotation and could have made an easier look for either yourself or for your teammates around you. And I truly believe that you have to make the simple passes. For example, you have to show the defense you're willing to pass the ball. So even if you don't think Conley or Terrence Shannon is going to make this shot, you have to show the defense that I'm willing to pass so they don't triple up like this. And he doesn't. He leans on a terrible shot. And it simply just plays like this where he's not even looking to pass the ball. And these are type of scenarios that can lose you a lot of games in the playoffs. This is something the Thunder do often. They blitz the ball handler in pick and roll opportunities. Anthony Edwards cannot make plays out of this situation, and therefore it is a turnover. Here's another clip with the #1 defense Thunder where they're going to trap Anthony Edwards and he's going to make a bad pass. There's a world where he could see the Thunder in the playoffs and it could look like this for 4 straight games, 5 straight games. And if you're going to be a ball handler of this caliber on a playoff team, you have to identify the blitz fast enough. You have to get that ball to Rudy Gobert. Even if you don't trust Rudy Gobert in this situation, he has the smaller Gary Payton on him. You can get him the ball and get back to it pretty quickly. So I still do believe that Anthony Edwards is one of the better players in the NBA and has an avenue to becoming one of the best players in the NBA, top 10 for sure. But I do believe he has to get better at playmaking. I'm not asking him to be Luka Doncic or Trae Young, but I'm asking him to be able to pass out of double teams and create offense at a higher level than just scoring the ball. Because defenses know he's not going to pass the ball unless you absolutely force him to. And when they force him to, he does not make the best reads, and he could be so much of a better player if he makes those reads consistently and keeps the defense honest with the shooting, the ball handling, the driving, and the playmaking. That's something that I believe this Minnesota Timberwolves team cannot make to the next level until he improves on that aspect of his game. The pull-up shooting has been great. It has been phenomenal, and he can become one of the best offensive players in the league once he takes that jump. And I do believe he's gotten better this season. I do believe he has gotten better in that aspect, but he is still really bad when it comes to all the lead ball handlers on these playoff teams. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think about Anthony Edwards' playmaking. If you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.